Ladies, gentlemen, welcome back and thank you for tuning in for another video about level design. Now, as you can see today, I want to talk about composition and balance. So in the last couple of weeks, I've been modeling a lot, and I just started a very fun process of UVing every single piece of geometry in my level. But let's just first walk through what I've done, then you can see the difference between my block out and the actual mesh and the actual level itself. So as you can see, right, everything changed a little bit, but the major change is up here in the actual cathedral. Yeah, the difference is huge when you compare my block out to this one, but it looks a lot better if you ask me. So everything you see, right, is actually modeled on purpose. There is actual thought behind it. It's not just random modeling. The main thing that I've done here is I took into mind the composition of the level. In this case, what I use for my composition is called symmetry, right? So as you can see, both left and right are identical. They're just mirrored. By using this composition, the viewer attention will always go down the middle, right? Since both sides are the same, you will look down through the middle. In this case, you will look at the actual goal of the level, which is to reach the exit. And this is also emphasized by the detail that it has, because it just jumps out of it. It has a little more detail than the actual environment itself. And the lighting, which is actually a happy accident, but I quite like it. So by just adding detail and lighting, you just add extra emphasis on the actual goal of the actual level itself. In this case, reach the exit, well, survive and reach the exit. So my second goal that I stated in my previous video was to introduce or enhance the feeling of verticality in the scene, which I've done by adding in those small braziers over here, or whatever they're called, and these lines over here as well, right? The actual pillars here as well. So these lines will force the viewer to look up. That was the main purpose behind it. So if we go to Photoshop here real fast, these lines here, they will all point in the same direction, which is up, right? So the viewer, the player, will actually unknowingly will look up to the actual roof in this case. The roof here has a hole, which is done to tell the actual story of this level a little bit more. One thing to keep in mind though, if you add like holes like these, is that the debris needs to go somewhere. So this is what I see quite a lot for my student work, is that if they add a hole here, the debris just vanishes into thin air, which of course, as you all know, is not possible. So in this case, I just added here on the ground, lots of shattered pieces over here. It even shattered the actual benches over here as well. This is a little bit nasty though. It just tells a bit of a story, like okay, something actually came crashing through the roof here. Which is part of my story, which I won't tell, of course, because that's the whole point of the game. So besides these braziers, I've also added, like in my organ, you can see those pointy things looking down, right? They actually point down. So what they do is they force you to also look down towards this area over here, which of course will emphasize the actual exit again. So a simple trick just to make the viewer to look up and also to look down towards the actual goal of the level, which is to reach the exit again. Cool. So what I meant with balance is mostly the balance of detail, which is very important that you keep this in mind. Because if you have too much detail, it will become visual noise on screen, and if you don't have enough detail, it will just feel empty and void. So finding that balance between how much detail you need and how much detail you don't need is important, and it just needs testing, right? In this case, I'm quite happy with it. Some pieces actually have more detail than anything else, like the organ over here, because this is a major centerpiece or a major landmark in our scene. So this will be for the player to know, okay, where actually am I? Okay, in this case, I'm on the first floor, and I'm in this case standing below the actual organ itself. The door here also has more detail, just to emphasize the actual importance of the door, because when the visitors of this church would walk in, they want to be in awe. And also when you look back here, it just feels okay, right? I've added these two statues over here as well, because they just add importance to that actual entrance, by just emphasizing the door here with something unique. In this case, you add importance to that area. I've done it here as well. Let me just go there real fast. Down here as well. Again, they just signal the importance of, hey, this door here will lead to something very important for the story or the player or something, right? So I've added this part over here as well, these details, because this wall used to be empty, right? And then you get this really odd sensation that this has nice detail, the doors have nice detail, the benches have detail, and then you get to an empty wall, right? It just feels off, it feels wrong, it feels void. The balance in this case was off, so that's why I just added this. Well, it's just bullshit detail, but it just looks pretty, right? That's the whole point. It just needs to look pretty. In this case, it will also tell like a little bit of a backstory, which is nice, which is, it's just like a secondary goal, but it works out really well, really nice. So what I've done here, for example, it's a little bit more empty, right? You can see the walls here are a little bit more empty. This is done on purpose, right? I'll just go up to the second floor real fast. It's a little bit more clear. So this part here as well, right? These walls here are completely empty. This is also done on purpose, because at some point later on, I want to use these walls for set dressing. So that means I'm probably going to add something here like a confession booth or a statue or something, and same here, right? So I kept these walls empty so I can later on fill them in with set dressing objects like a flag or a statue or a confession booth or candles, like one of those candles that you see in churches, that sort of stuff. So it's important that you keep that in mind when modeling and when starting adding details, that you also have space for your set dressing so you don't get too much in there. For example, like if these walls were like filled with detail and then you add a statue there, it doesn't feel that important because there's already so much visual cues happening there. So you need to keep that in mind when designing certain areas of your level. And also one thing as well is really important is that it needs to fit the world, right? And you need to get the idea that it actually functions in that world. So for example, here my elevator, I just added this part over here, right? You can see it up there. It's nothing more, it's just bullshit, right? I'm just going to scene real fast. Oh, wrong button. I'll just go into scene real fast so you can see it a little bit better. It's just, it doesn't serve any purpose but to ground my objects in the actual world, right? It's just detail, it's just noise, but it serves a purpose in this case. What I had before this, I just did not have like this object over here. Let's just get it up, and then you should have these cables that just go up into the actual roof, right? That doesn't work in real life. We know that it doesn't work like that in real life, so I just added these things over here. They're nothing more than to ground our object into reality, so it makes a little bit more sense. Same here. If you go to the actual oh, let's turn off this one. Same here for the actual elevator itself as well. You know, it's just a wooden board with some edges around it and chains. So again, it needs to fit, it needs to work. We need to have the feeling that it would work in reality. Even though we take a little bit of a artistic liberty with it, it still needs to feel that it actually functions here. So some things I just added here because it fits the theme in this case, the level, which is a church, right? Most churches or cathedrals have like these windows here. I think they're called Rosetta windows. They are important for the actual setting of the theme. So it will also ground our level in what we know. In this case, we know what a church / cathedral looks like. In this case, it will just help with emphasizing that, hey, you are in a cathedral. So what I did here as well, and I'll show that here as well, so I added these objects over here, right? These are just like tombstones, but if I don't have them here, you get a very big open space, open floor with nothing. So it will feel empty and like it will feel like something is missing over there. That's why I've added these over here. It just tells a little bit of a story again, because apparently people get buried in the cathedral, and this will just add emphasis on the story, but also mostly important, it's just filling of the actual empty spaces that I had here with the floor. Same here as well with this object over here as well, or this one, same thing, exactly the same thing. It's just to fill in, it just adds stuff. Honestly, it's just stuff to fill up the environment so it doesn't feel that empty anymore. So the next step is going to be UVing and texturing. I just started UVing on like halfway there. It's a bit of a pain in the ass. as you can imagine, because there are a lot of objects that I need to UV. And texturing will be done a little bit differently than what you might do usually. Is, well, we have the issue here, like these walls are massive, right? There are a lot of walls and they're a very big surface to texture. So you could do is like assign 9 different textures to it, like 9 different 4K textures, which will look amazing, but that's like 400 MB of just textures, right? For just a wall, which is very inefficient. And that would just add more and more draw calls and more stress on the CPU and GPU when you don't even need it, right? So what I'm going to use, I'm going to use a thing called a trim sheet, which is just one texture, which has like multiple different textures in it. So you will have one part that actually has like brick in it, one part still will be like more like plaster, and I'm going to assign the same texture to every single wall that I have. And that means that I only have a couple of textures, like 4 textures for my entire walls, multiple walls. So that's a simple trick, but I will go into more detail about that next time. So for now, I'm just going to say thanks for watching, and next time I'm going to do texturing. So I hope to see you again soon.